Hey, what's going on? This is Jason. Welcome to our video today. And today's video is how to 10x your results through two simple terms, through the understanding of two simple terms. And these are two terms that I get a lot of questions on. Unfortunately, they're somewhat interchangeable in the vernacular of approaching fitness and health, and what we're trying to accomplish. I interchange them all the time, but there should be an understanding of what the difference is between these two terms, because that understanding is going to dictate how you approach your physical development pursuits. And how you approach that is really everything. One step past doing it is, how do you do it? And so this concept is really going to help us out with that. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right. And this is titled Precision Training versus Workouts. So I get a question a lot of times. And the question is, can't I just do blank? And so what do we mean by can't I just do blank? It's like when I'll be giving advice or something on what you should do specifically, what I always get is the client reverting into something more general, something easier, something that lacks focus. Can't I just do and insert circuit training class, insert yoga, insert Pilates, insert something that is very general when I'm, for instance, giving very specific advice. The reason for the specificity is to, target a very certain thing so that we can get the best result. You can think of this as, the shotgun approach versus the sniper approach, or spaghetti at the wall versus, well, I guess you don't have an opposite of spaghetti, but you get my meaning. So there are three types of activity. There's one, activities of daily living, which is occupational, recreational, travel. And so if you're playing, you're working, or you're getting from place to place. That's pretty much the three things. I mean, gardening or something like that, you can think of that as, occupational, and you're doing it for your living. If you have to get to the train, that's traveling. If you have to run to it, or if you're playing a sport, that's recreation. And so those are activities of daily living. Those are things that are not done with the intent of changing your body in any way. Then we have what we call general conditioning. So general conditioning is an intent to change your body, but for the most part, it's really just filling in where activities of daily living are missing. For instance, if you are, a construction worker, or you're doing a very, very active job, then you're probably not going to do, general conditioning in between that job and other things. You're not going to try to develop your body more because you're really already getting, your 20,000 steps a day, something like that. If you're Lewis and Clark and you're hiking, from the Appalachian Trail to, across to the Pacific Ocean, you're not going to stop and do a workout at night. You're already getting that, that physicality in there, and so you're probably not going to do general conditioning. That's when it brings us to specific conditioning. Now, specific conditioning is something that you do that is very specific. It's very like, we need to do this in order to deal with this other thing. Most of the time, you're going to identify the reasons why you're doing the specific, conditioning from activities of daily living. So number two, general conditioning will fill in where activities of daily living are missing. And number three, specific conditioning will fill in where activities of daily living are, are in need of something to make a change so that you can do those activities of daily living better. For instance, if you were running for the train and you twisted your ankle, you might do specific conditioning in the form of rehab so that you can run for the train again if you need to. You might, if you're a football player and your activity of daily living is occupational, meaning the football game, then your specific conditioning might be strength and conditioning in the weight room for executing in that football game. Yeah, and so that's kind of the difference between those three areas. When we say the terms, excuse me, training versus workout, what we mean by training is specific conditioning, and what we mean by workouts is general condition. And sometimes, people will superimpose workout for even activities of daily living. For instance, you'll go and you'll help your buddy move, and your buddy gets done moving that couch up the stairs, and he's breathing hard. Oh man, that was heavy. That was hard. What a workout! I always say, hey, don't hurt your shoulder patting yourself on the back, because the thing is the intent of the activity was not to fix your body. It wasn't to address your body and help your body get better. And somebody's giving themselves credit for that when that wasn't the intent of the activity. The intent of the activity was to move the couch up the stairs and get it into the living room. So, the words matter because we don't want to skip out in one of these activities just because, we think we did the work in another place when the intent matters is what we're saying. And so when we do a workout, the goal of the workout is really to expend energy, is to get the reps in where where that activities of daily living are missing. Where training is purposeful development. It doesn't necessarily have to expend large amounts of energy. It's developing in a certain way. For instance, when I woke up this morning, the first thing I do every morning when I wake up and I'm sitting there with my coffee is I stare at this clock that's across the room. And I just stare at it because I know that it helps my eyes to focus. And I've had the same prescription for 20 some odd years because I won't let it slide. Because I stare at this digital clock every morning, then I'll stare at the window, then I stare at the digital clock, and I'll watch it get better. That's purposeful development of eyesight. And would I say that's a workout? Am I expending energy? Not really, but I do focus development simply because I'm obsessed with, adaptive physiology, and I don't want my eyesight to go. So I do that, but that's the difference. You wouldn't call that a workout most of the time. And if we did call it a workout, we would understand what the difference is. So what's our target with workouts versus training? Well, our target versus when we're doing a workout, like let's say we do high intensity interval training workout, that's very random. We're doing a lot of things. We got a lot of things going on at once. That's what the current approach to high intensity interval training is. Now, if we do training in terms of a circuit training workout that has specific levels of cardiovascular expenditure, well, that's more specific. The traditional high intensity interval training is more like doing hills on a treadmill. That's different. So when we say we're going to go in and we're going to do yoga, we're going to do Pilates, or we're going to do one of these circuit training courses, we're going to do our workout. That's fine, but we have to understand the intent. And so what's our focus? Well, when a lot of times you go into a workout and you go in with a specific intent of zoning out, I just want to do the work while the instructor yells at me, or gives me instruction, where that's when you have the cheerleader or the drill instructor type person, or, whatever is meant for that particular, sort of thing, activity that you're engaged in. Whereas training is very thoughtful. It's controlled. It's focused. You're really thinking about what you're doing as you're doing it, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. We might say that the focus is very quantitative with workouts and very qualitative with training. Activity level. So in workouts, it's usually high activity where we're shooting for volume and maybe some intensity. Whereas with training, it's very, again, it's qualitative. We're looking for specific variables that need to be addressed and changed in order to get specific adaptation. And so, that's going to matter a lot. So when we come to when and where, so there was a study done with firefighters. I was taking a training course in injury resilience for the NFL athlete. And during this course, one of the instructors gets up and they go, they started citing this particular study, which I have the study somewhere in my computer right now. But anyways, the individual study, what it did was pitted two groups of firefighters against each other. Yeah, one was a control group and one was the specific training group or the precision group. So the precision group was less intensive, but very, very targeted in terms of what their training would be. And the general group kept on doing their general high intensity interval training workouts. And what they saw was that the injuries involved in the general group were far exceeding the injuries that were involved in the specific group. And what this yielded, because when you get an injury, you're set, it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Whereas with precision and no injury, what we're getting is continual steps forward. So not only did we get less injury, but we get continual results moving forward. And so the precision group saw much greater results in their strength parameters as related to firefighting than did the general group. And so that's a very, very important factor that we need to recognize. And so that there's another there's a guy named Stu McGill. Stu McGill is the leading back pain expert in North America. He's a Canadian fella, and he runs a studio and does all sorts of great work. The thing I love about Stu is that his research is his clinic. So, he does similar to what we do. Matter of fact, what we do takes off of him quite a bit. And that's where we keep the data so that data can be our research. Your clients are your data. And so what Stu says is, hey, yoga and Pilates with respect to back pain. So yoga, you think of mobility, and Pilates, you think of core training. We encourage mobility and core training. But because yoga and Pilates are a throw the spaghetti at the wall technique, then half the time you're doing more damage than you are good. Half the time you're doing more good. So we get all sorts of people come in, they go, oh no, Pilates work great for me. I go, that's fantastic. But that's only 50% of the time. The other 50%, is either no effect or a negative effect. And so we should understand that general conditioning, may have no effect or a negative effect when done in absence of specific conditioning. So what's our conclusion? Well, I just kind of hit on it, but circuit training or workout classes, general conditioning are fine. I actually encourage you to do a certain amount of general conditioning, but you have to understand the purpose. Specific conditioning must be incorporated in a precise ratio to the general conditioning, depending on the individual's current condition and goals. So that's where assessment comes in. And so if you really like the content in this video, you can shoot down below in the description where there's a full link for our full free masterclass where we've just put in a ton of useful information on this topic. If you'd like to keep on watching and see more incredibly helpful topics, you can click on the next video right there at the bottom of the screen, and you can subscribe as well. Thank you.